This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We continue in the Iggeres HaRamban, and we've been analyzing this line. Tisnahig tamid l'daber kol dvarecha b'nachas. Train yourself always to speak all of your words softly. L'chol adam, to every person, uv'chol eis, and at all times, uv'zeh tinatzel menakas. And this way you will be saved from anger. So we spoke at length about showing how the word nachas means softly, quietly. L'chol adam. Who does l'chol adam come to include? When we say l'chol adam, who is that referring to? L'chol adam means anyone, even someone who you perceive is of lower stature than you. I mean, avada and avada, if the person is greater than you, to speak to him loudly and to talk to him in a very loud way is stam a chutzpah. But even somebody who you perceive is lower than you, in whether you're older than them, more important than them, even such a person, you should not speak loudly to. Now, the Sefer Charedim, though, says that it refers to someone else as well. And that is, what about to a guy? Even though the Gemara says in many places, Ein oivdei kochavim kruyim Adam, a Gentile is not called an Adam. Nevertheless, regarding this, certainly the dictate that one should speak softly applies, and quietly applies even to a Gentile, and that is because speaking aggressively is an act of gaiva. So it doesn't matter who the recipient of it is; it's a personal, inherent type of behavior which is forbidden and discouraged regardless of who you're speaking to. In fact, the Sefer Charedim writes, Lachein kol ish lo yichos lo im goy v'lo im Yisrael. So which means that if you have some kind of worker in your house and he's doing a lousy job, ad kedei kach, they want to wring his neck and you want to yell at him, but the midos of the Torah require that one always speak in a controlled, disciplined manner. That's what the Ramban means, l'chol adam, at all, to all people. However, what does he mean, uv'chol eis? So Rav Goldberg, we read a few days ago, uv'chol eis refers to even Erev Shabbos, when things are hectic and pressurized and stressful. But this Sefer of the Oyhal Yaakov of Rav Mendelovsky, he wants to suggest uv'chol eis refers to all circumstances, even in the Beis HaMedrash. Even when one is learning and you're trying to argue your point and your friend is not listening, so you want to explain what you mean in a forceful manner because he ain't getting it, because he's so stuck up in his set way of looking at it that he's not understanding what you're trying to say. However, he suggests that this is something that could escalate, and therefore even under such circumstances, one always has to speak softly. Now, I would tend to disagree with that application, namely because there's a Beferish Gemara in Masechta Kedushin that says, Amar Reb Chia bar Abba, afilu av uvnai harav v'talmidai sha'oiskin b'Torah, nasim oivim zeh ez zeh, they become enemies, and ultimately they become friends. That there is something called Malchamta Shel Torah. Now, if everyone is talking like a very soft, proper individual, then aside from the fact that it's hard to really get to the full extent of the logic of something unless it's accompanied with the sort of the chitzonios. Now he suggests that we're not on the madrega, that if we're going to discuss Torah in a somewhat aggressive manner, that we're going to end up remaining full-fledged friends afterwards. However, it is what Chazal say. It's interesting, if you look in the Kuzari says that one should rid himself of all aggressiveness except for that which is needed for debate and learning. So you see also that there is a certain aspect that if you want to get to the bottom of a svara, there is a certain type of passion that has to be used in the explanation and focus. So I think there is still room that in the course of Limud HaTorah there is an element of Melchamta Shel Torah that could still be utilized. Okay. And then the Ramban says as follows, because if somebody trains himself to speak benachas, uvazeh tinatzel min hakaas. When one speaks softly, they will be saved from anger. Either you won't come to anger in the first place, or if you do, it will calm you down. As it says in Mishlei, ma'aneh rach yashiv chema, a soft answer turns away wrath. But udevar etzev ya'ale af, but a distressing word stirs up anger. Chema is deep anger. Af is a superficial rage, which could be dissipated. So, which means as follows: the Malbim says that one remark could kindle even anger, but a soft word has the ability to assuage and to soften even a deep wrath. Now the Ramban says about uvazet tinatzal min hakas, by speaking softly, you will be spared from anger. The Ramban says shehi midara. This is an evil trade, lahachdi b'nei adam, to cause man to sin. Anger is an evil character trait that could cause man to sin. Now, if you look in the Rambam in Hilchos Deos, Parak Beis Halacha Gimel, the Rambam says, Amru chachamim harishonim, kol hakoyes ki'ilu oved avodah zarah. Anyone who gets angry, it's as if they worshipped idols. The Maritz Chios asks, as well as the Sefer B'nai Binyamin, that where in the world did the Rambam get this from, that if you get angry, it's as if you worshipped idols. It doesn't say this nowhere. Nowhere does it say that if you serve Avodah Zarah, it's like you worshipped idols. The Gemara says that if you break kalim in your anger or tear garments in your anger, it should be in your eyes as if you worshipped idols. But nowhere does the Gemara say that anger alone is inherently equivalent to Avodah Zarah. And we once pointed out, and actually we have it in the Sefer on Pesach, that the only source for such an idea is the Zohar. The Zohar in Parshas Bereshis, in fact, says that anger is the equivalent of Avodah Zarah. And we bring up the subject, the Rambam did not see the Zohar. The Zohar was not discovered in the times of the Rambam. And there are a number of other things that the Rambam says is only found in the Zohar. But the question is, why is anger considered like worshipping idols? What is the connection? What is the equivalency between anger and worshipping idols? So the Oyel Yaakov has a chakira. Is it because anger is a branch of gaiva? As Reb Chaim Vital writes in the Shari Kedusha, that kas is a anaf of gaiva. And the Shla says that when somebody gets angry, his heart is mizgoah. And we know the Gemara says in Saita that Amar of Shemar Yechai kol mi sheyesh by gasus ruach kilu oved avodah zarah. So maybe the reason why kas is like worshipping idols is because it's a branch of arrogance which is deemed like idol worship. Or is it similar to what the Gemara says? So the Gemara says in Shabbos that the way the Yetzer Hara works is today he tells you to do A, tomorrow he'll tell you to do B, and the next day C. In other words, once you're under the control of the Yetzer Hara, so then he could end up telling you to worship idols. It's not that kas is inherently the equivalent of idolatry. But it could end up bringing to that, because now you're no longer in control of yourself, but you're under the control of the Yetzer Hara, and he could ultimately bring you to worship idols. Okay, so by speaking softly, that saves you from kas, which is a terrible trait to cause people to sin. Rabbi Isai, everyone's invited tonight at 7:45 on Torah Anytime is a special event, L'Kavod Purim, followed by regular 8:30 p.m. Shir. Tomorrow, 2:30, Hilchos Shabbos, Shimru, Toichen. And then tomorrow is our monthly Shas Illuminated at 9 o'clock, a review of Hilchos Taras HaMishpacha, concluding with Shilas of Hilchos Nida that are relevant during the COVID Zman. Okay, you could check the website.
7:45. It's only on Torah Anytime. It's not on the Zoom.
Only Torah Anytime. 7:45 is only Torah Anytime. Yeah. Okay, Rabbi Isai, have a great day. Kol Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.